very much. The conference, as you indicate correctly, it's actually making an analysis of the food insecurity in Africa following the pandemic, but also looking at the impact of Russia-Ukraine war. And the question is, what is it that we need to do to cushion Africa's citizens not to actually become worse off than where they are, particularly the increase in food prices, the increase in oil, also the increase in input cost for agriculture. So one of the issues that we're looking at is the short-term measures where we look at social protection, but also where agencies such as World Food Programme as well as International Red Cross can actually assist those countries that are most vulnerable in this regard. We're also looking at how we could increase production, particularly at smallholder level and household level, to ensure that we create a buffer in terms of food vulnerability at local level.
Yeah.
But I must say that member states are also saying, last year we went to the United Nations where we looked at the food security and food systems issues globally. And Africa went there with a position on what it needed to do. So what we're looking at is the implementation of that Africa position, as well as the dialogues that national member states have had with their various constituencies and private sector partners on how they can strengthen the food systems at local level, thereby ensuring food security for citizens.
Minister, the continent is said to have vast swathes of arable land. Why do you think that food insecurity is an issue for Africa in the first place?
Firstly, I think the economic structure of a number of countries, while, agriculture is the backbone in a number of countries in terms of the economic activities, but the other sectors that support that industry, including infrastructure, mechanization, access to quality seeds and fertilizer and other inputs, have become one of the weaknesses in other countries for them to be able to meet their food security levels. If you look at countries like Malawi, as the minister was sharing with us today, one of the things they've looked at is how do they harness their abundance, a resource of water for irrigation purposes as a way of increasing their capacity to produce for their nation. And at the same time, a number of countries are also looking at how they can increase agricultural commercialization so that they are able, again, to feed their nations, but also be able to trade with others. So there are a number of issues that impact on why certain countries are not able to be food self-sufficient at a country level and therefore have vulnerabilities from time to time.
Yeah. Now, we know that climate change has caused havoc on the African continent. We've witnessed drought in some instances, floods in others, which of course threatens the agricultural sector. What's the line about a joint approach in dealing with the effects of climate change and, of course, very importantly, mitigating it?
This meeting actually comes at a time when we're all preparing for the next COP27 meeting. And therefore, working together with the departments of environment, but also our research and technology institutions, we are looking at how we can develop technologies and production system that responds to climate change. And how can we as a sector mitigate the impact of climate change? And at a country level, we are also looking at how we could use research and technology to actually develop seeds, but also climate-smart agricultural production systems that can respond to climate change.
Now, Minister, while I have you there in Addis, I'd like to refer to something that's happening here at home, and that's the Transnet strike. I mean, it basically underpins all industries, and a major one is agriculture. A lot of our agricultural goods are exported and contribute, quite a lot to our GDP as well as to, our export revenues. What have you been doing as the Minister of Agriculture to try and ensure that this strike is brought to a speedy end? Because, of course, if it's prolonged, it's going to be very negative, not only for agriculture, but other sectors as well.
Certainly, one has been engaging with Transnet, but also with the Ministry of Public Enterprises, Minister Gordon, who is also responsible for Transnet, to see to what extent can we collectively as government and industry find solutions that can actually address the challenges that we're facing. How can we also look at other alternative measures, if any, to make sure that we mitigate the challenges that we're facing right now? Would also appeal to the labor unions to reflect on some of these issues and find a way in which, together with Transnet, they can find a resolution to the impasse that has resulted to a strike, in order to find one another so that it doesn't impact sectors such as agriculture and other sectors of our economy.